So now we're at Unit 5, Lecture 6. We're going to start talking about social psychology. And boy, if there is a part of a unit that can get me in trouble this year, this will be it. We will talk about Black Lives Matter. We'll talk about QAnon. We'll talk about the insurrection at the White House. We're going to talk about COVID. We're going to talk about masks. We're going to talk about vaccination. We're going to talk about all of it. Because we got to look at it from a psychological perspective. That some of the thinking going on here is rational thinking, and some of it is irrational thinking. And we want to understand the irrational thinking, and it's not to be judgy or anything else like that. But, the people who stormed the White House on January the 6th thought they were doing the right thing. The people who were looting stores during Black Lives Matter rally felt that I'm taking back from society. We're doing the right thing. So what gets those minds thinking that way? When most of us look at that and we go, doesn't seem logical. How'd you get to that point? How'd you get to that point? So we're not here to make judgments or other things of who wears a mask, who doesn't wear a mask, who gets a vaccination, who doesn't get a vaccination. We're going to take a look at how we get this, how we get our attitudes, because our attitudes have more to do with our behavior than anything going on around us, whether I'm hungry or whatnot. It's my attitude. So we're going to talk about attribution. We're going to talk about attitudes, action, conformity, and obedience in this little beginning. And I love social psychology. And again, if you took sociology, you probably saw a lot of this there. Or if you haven't taken sociology, you will see a lot of it there. You could become a social psychologist. What we're going to talk about here over 5 lectures could be your entire master's degree, your entire career. So again, skip a rock across the pond here and sort of see how we do. And I will not dodge the issues. I refuse to dodge the issues. It's just something I can't do. So if anything I say upsets you, rubs you the wrong way, please know that I'm trying to present all sides of the argument. And if you do have an issue, please talk to me before you talk to your parents. It's just much easier. Not that I don't mind talking to your parents, but just come to me, have a discussion, and I'd love to hear it. I would absolutely love to hear it because I am not an expert on everything. All right. So with that, by the way, when I say I'm not an expert on everything, it assumes that I'm an expert on some things, and I might even argue against that. All right, so let's take a look at what social psychology is. It's a scientific study of how we think about, influence, and relate to one another, because none of us live on an island alone. All right, so we are influenced by others within our lives. If we take a look at this, you've got your individual, here's who you are. Then you have your microsystem around you, which is your family, your school, your peers, the neighborhood you play in, and everything else. Then you have your mesosystem out here, an exosystem, which consists of your friends of the family, the neighbors that maybe you hang out with, don't, social welfare service, the mass media, and that's everything on the outside there. And then all this stuff that's happening at this moment has happened over your lifetime. This has all built you up to who you are. So what we're going to take a look at here is your social influences, ways in which a person's behavior can be affected by the presence of others. Who's the true you? Is it you by yourself right now? Is it you in a classroom? Is it you with your friends? Is it you at work? Is it you with a loved one? Is it you at dinner with your parents? Who's the true you? How do others have an influence on your actions? Social cognitions, ways in which people think about other people. And boy, do we think about other people. They just all do what I said, it'd be better, which is also wrong. My wife and I'll talk so often, and she says this all the time, we have nothing in common. She tells me this all the time. We like such different things. And I go, that's what's so interesting about you. That's why I'm so fascinated with you. I'm so interested in you because you're not like me. I don't want to date me. I don't even like me. I'd be bored if I dated me. How boring. I like this. Me too. How boring of a life would that be? So again, how do people affect that? Social interaction, the positive and negative aspects of people relating to one another. How do other people bring out the best in me? How do other people bring out the worst in me? You know, does she smile at me? Look at her. She's smiling at me. Why is she smiling at me? Is she a friendly person? She's just a friendly person. She smiles at everybody. Or is she smiling at me because she likes my vibe? No, probably not. You know, and then that way we have to, so I better not smile at that person. I'm sending the wrong message or whatever else the case may be. We don't know what is a flirtation and what's not. So how do we allow the presence of others to impact our public actions? All these things fall into the umbrella that is social psychology. Now, again, how this is different from sociology is how groups impact other groups. This is how individual people or even groups of people impact us in our thinking, whether it's an us group, them group, whatever the case may be. So we take a look at this and we come up with something called attribution theory. Attribution theory is a tendency to give a casual explanation for someone's behavior, often by crediting either the situation or the person's disposition. And again, the less we know of the person, the more likely we are to say that's who they are, you know, because there's 7 billion people in the world and I don't have time to get to know every one of them as an individual. Guy cuts me off in traffic, he's a jerk. That's it. That's all he is. He's a jerk. When I make that decision, that's who he is. I'm never going to see that person again in my life, whatever. And again, this becomes very dangerous because we don't get to know these people. You know, someone could have cut me off in traffic because they're on the way to the hospital or whatever. No, I just go, that's a jerk. And I have said some mean things. I have been in a car and I have said some very mean, inappropriate things to people. You know, I've had someone cut me off in traffic where I had to move my wheel and I had to step on a brake. And I have said things and called people's names and said everything else. And I've said words like, you just need to die. That's someone's mother or daughter or someone's, you know, loved one or whatever. I want them to die. Why? Because they made me do that. They made me do that. Dead. Which is why I shouldn't serve on a jury. Well, there's a lot of reasons I shouldn't serve on a jury, but it's wrong. It's wrong to do. So why do we do it? Because sometimes it's also right to do. Hear me out. You're in a zoo. You're walking through a zoo. Suddenly, a tiger has escaped from his habitat. He is now running across the zoo. I am now 100 yards away from the tiger. There is the tiger. Here is me. What's the action that I take? Do I turn around and run? If I turn around and run, I'm not giving this tiger the opportunity. How do I know that this is like every tiger I've seen in every movie? Maybe this is a sweet kitty cat. Maybe this is a good tiger. Maybe I need to give this tiger some love. If I run away, am I a tiger racist? Not giving him an opportunity? Don't I have to give him an opportunity? No, it's a tiger. He may eat me. You know, we don't have time to get to know everybody as an individual. And most people we don't even know as an individual because we're never going to see him again. I was grocery shopping with my son, Duncan. He had just reminded me of this story a few months ago. We were grocery shopping. He was like freshman in high school or something. And I had put something, I'd gotten some apples or something. I put them in someone else's cart and started pushing it. And the lady went, whoa, 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 that's my cart. That's my cart. I go, oh, I'm sorry. And I removed my apples. I found my cart, put it back in. Sorry about that. And I moved on. And my son, Duncan, who was a freshman, goes, oh my God, that was so embarrassing. Oh my God, aren't you just so embarrassed? Oh my God, so embarrassing. And I said, no, I don't care. He's like, why? I go, I'm never going to see that woman again for the rest of my life. If nothing else, I gave her a pretty funny story to tell someone else. Can you believe someone just put apples in my cart and went away with it? You know, so she's going to get a little story. I'm never going to see her again. I'm not be involved in her life. Why would I care? Why would I care what this woman thinks about me? And at that moment, he went, huh. But we do that. We do that. And when someone does it to us, we get very upset. You know, you cheated on a test. You're a cheater. Hey, you didn't understand. I had a lot going on tonight. There were a lot of reasons and everything else. So again, when things happen to us, we give reasons and explanations. When it happens to someone else, well, yeah, they are a cheater. They're just a loser. That's who they are. And we make these judgments and we make them automatic quickly. We make them very quickly. Johnny Manziel is a great example of this. Johnny Manziel was quarterback for Texas A&M about 9 years ago. And he was looked at as this cocky, arrogant waste of talent, everything else. Now, again, people who come up with all these negative aspects, I don't know the guy, I never met him. But do you know? Why do we come up with all these? That's just who he is. You know, think about that. What if you were 19, 20 years old and suddenly You were told by everybody else you are the greatest football player in America. You were given an award for it. You think that might affect your life a little bit? You think that might affect your life? Not to mention you're making a couple bucks here and there from your autograph. Or you just sign your name and it's like every time you sign your name, it's like $100. That might impact who you are a little bit. When I think of Johnny Manziel, I think of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was 19 years old, had no family, no nothing. And suddenly he's the heavyweight champion of the world. He knows any room he walks into, he can destroy everybody. Plus he's got millions of dollars. Yeah, that might affect who you are a little bit, but a lot of times we don't take that. We take the very, very simple explanation. I'm gonna pause here. My wife is calling. Okay, sorry, that was my wife. I think I covered everything on this particular page. I guess I'll see if I go back and take a look at it. Let's assume that I did. All right, so let's talk about fundamental attribution error. Oh, that's right. I talked about Johnny Manziel and Mike Tyson. Okay. Fundamental attribution error, tendency for observers when analyzing another's behavior to underestimate the impact of situation, to overestimate the impact of personal disposition. And again, we do that. When somebody else does something, that's who they are. When we do something, well, it's the situation. You know, you cheated on a test. I'm not a cheater. I just had a lot of things going on and I had to, and it was all just give me your daily work. You know, so we give ourselves a pass, but everyone else we give judgment. And a lot of times this throws us off. We make it an error. You have a girl in class. She never talks. Julie never talks in class. You go to a party, and last weekend she was on the tables dancing at the party. You're like, what? This is the girl in my biology class. She never does this. What is she acting like? Because she's at a party. And at a party, that's where you do that. You don't do that in biology class. You get up on the Bunsen burner is going to light you up. You don't do that. You know, so, but a lot of times we see people in that particular situation, that's who they are. Jack talks nonstop at the party. He must be very outgoing. Then he gets to class and he's all shy. Well, I thought he was outgoing. You know, we want to see people in a place that's comfortable for us. People tend to surprise us when we see them outside of the situation we're used to seeing them in. It's why actors are typecasted and everything else. How many times have you seen your teacher outside of where they're supposed to be? Throws you off a little bit. You know, if you're one of the kids at Psych and this is the only way that you're seeing me, then suddenly you see me outside of here, you see me on campus at Psych, that's going to be a little bit weirder. If you're someone from Woods who's used to seeing me in front of class doing these lectures, and then suddenly I'm in this room, it's going to throw you off a little bit. That's not what you're supposed to do. You ever caught your parents kissing? Ew, that's not what you're supposed. Your mom and dad, you guys aren't supposed to be liking each other like that. You two have never had sex. I am an immaculate conception. There's no way you could ever be attracted and do it. There's no way. It throws us off. You know, the entire basis of the film Back to the Future was mom and dad. What were they back in high school, and how were they different from the people that you know today? And by the way, your parents together canoodling, pretty weird. They get your grandparents. Ew. There you go. I'll move on. This is why many Americans thought that the late Alex Trebek was so smart, because he was on Jeopardy. He had the answers. Look at how smart everybody thought he was over here in this little graphic. Everybody thought he was smart. Why? Because he had the answers. And he was a little bit, let's admit, he was a little bit condescending, like most Canadians are. See, there you go. Canadians condescending. Just made a fundamental attribution error right there. Hockey playing people. Hockey, there you go. Another one. Anyways, we think Alex Trebek was smart. Why? Because he knew all the answers. And someone, you know, made the wrong answer. Ooh, sorry, the answer was boron. Ooh, sorry, boron, not boran. Can't accept that. Ooh, sorry. You won't be around for Final Jeopardy. And with that, we go, God, the guy's smart. He knows all that stuff. And that's who we think that he is. So if he's supporting whoever for president, I may follow that because he's a pretty smart guy. So again, a lot of times we, in fundamental attribution errors, when judging our own behavior, we overestimate our surroundings, which again is a self-serving bias. You know, when you want to get in, when traffic's going by and you want to get in, hey, I just want to get in. Hey, I'm just one car. Hey, I really need to get here because I'm a little bit late. Hey, be okay with me. But when somebody else gets in, you're like, what do you cut me off for? What are you, a jerk? You know, and we do that. And when judging on others, we underestimate the situation. Again, when somebody cuts me off in traffic, they may be rushing someone to a hospital. I don't know that. Westerners are more likely to blame the individual rather than the situation. When we're young, we're less judgmental. But as we become older, And as we've seen people be people, start to get a little bit more judgmental of them. Okay, even when we know the surrounding events, we still partially blame the person, especially if they are outsiders. You're not part of my group, something positive. And when you're an outsider, if it's something positive, and I don't like your group, you're part of the they, not the us, you're the they. So when you do something good, well, it's because of a situation. But when you do something bad, it's who you are. You know, I have a bias against white pickup trucks. I do. I got it. I believe that people who drive white pickup trucks when I see them in traffic, they're always cutting people off. They're always driving too fast. They're always merging 3 lanes at a time on a 2-lane road. Why are you doing that? Always speeding up to the light, taking off, scratching it. White pickup trucks, drivers of white pickup trucks. Terrible. And when they drive correctly, I'll go, well, that person just got that truck. When they do something negative, that's who they are. Now, again, there's some of you guys right now that drive white pickup trucks. And you're like, what? And some of you guys are going, well, if that's how you think I'm driving anyways, I might as well be that. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But there's no rationale that I have to that belief whatsoever. But what I'm going to do in my us versus them sort of way, me versus all the white pickup trucks, I'm only going to look for white pickup trucks that confirm that bias. When someone drives a white pickup truck and they don't drive like an idiot, I'm going to go, well, it's just an exception to the rule. When they do something negative, that's who they are, white pickup driving person. Okay, so a lot of times we make what is called in this fundamental attribution error, how we explain someone's behavior affects how we react to it. You know, when it's someone close to us and they do something stupid, you don't know them the way I know. They're very special. We rationalize someone else's bad behavior. You know, when you're dating someone and they're a terrible person, you don't want to admit that you're dating a terrible person. You know, because that makes you an idiot for dating a terrible person. So you'll explain, your friends are like, well, how can you deal with that person? He's so mean to you. Well, he's really nice. You just don't know. When he's asleep, he's sweet. He's really sweet when he's asleep. You know, so you'll rationalize it, you know, and the bad behavior, it's okay because, you know, because he was tired, he didn't get enough sleep. You know, we take things personal that really we shouldn't. It's not about us. You know, and I learned this as a parent. When my kids screw up, it's a lack of prefrontal cortex. They're idiots. It's not about me. You know, as much as I complain about food in the bedroom, you know, food in the bedroom, stop eating food in the bedroom. When my kid's there eating food, he's got a little cookie in his bed, and he's eating the cookie. He's not going, yeah, screw him. I'll eat where I want to eat. It's not about that. He's just going cookie, because he's an idiot. So it's not about me. So why do I take it personal? But a lot of us do. When we ask questions like this, do poor people deserve to be poor? We do that. We make a big group of them. Well, there's situations, you know, there's situations. Now, do all poor people deserve to be poor? Absolutely not. There's some people that work very hard and put everything to the side and they just had to have bad situations. Do some poor people deserve to be poor? Sure. There's some people that don't do work, you know, and learn to beat the system or whatever. So again, our personal experience has a lot to do with how we answer that question. If you're someone who struggled and had to claim unemployment, as I did when my daughter was born and I lost 2 jobs at the same time, you realize that and you're a little bit more empathetic, you know? So again, we make these errors against the them groups, not so much versus the us groups. We feel that we as individuals are very complex, as is our group, yet other people, you read them in our group. And it's difficult to take advice from someone not walking in my shoes. You know, to hear me as a teacher that's 53 telling you this about teenagers and how you're living life. Well, you're old, you don't know. Your parents telling you. You think your parents went from the age of 8 to 28 and experienced nothing in between. You know, that's why it's always fun when your parents' friends show up from high school and college and start telling embarrassing stories about them. And your parents are like, hey, I want to hear those stories. You know, we believe that we are judging others, but we don't believe that they are judging us as much, which is this invisibility cloak illusion. We're being judged just as much. We also believe we know more about the others than they know about us. When we take a look at this and the Confederate flags and everything else, I'm just going to make a big judgment on them. When we see somebody with a bumper sticker we don't like, judgment, judgment, judgment. Instead of going, how'd you get there? I'm fascinated by people who are extreme racists. I want to know the story. How'd you get there? Not that I believe in your beliefs, but I'm kind of interested in the journey. What got you there? What got you down that QAnon rabbit hole or whatever else the case may be? By the way, I'm not saying all QAnon people are racist. But I'm always interested when I see illogical thinking, like my white pickup trucks, what got you there? It's our attitude. Our attitude is our belief and our feeling. And this predisposes one to respond in a particular way in spite of what's going on externally. This affects us emotionally. We have physiological reactions to certain people that are outside of our group, certain images that make our amygdala act in a certain way. Behavioral, we'll take actions in response to something. Cognitively, we'll think. And a lot of times, when we talked about this with morality, often people will talk and act a different game. Outside influences on what we say and do are very, very minimal. We're coming into the game pre-wired with all the things. And when I say pre-wired, not the way you were born, but the way you were born and everything that's happened to you up until that point. When you think of who you are, at this moment, what is today on this particular date? I'm doing this lecture on August 6, 2021. And my reaction to particular things are not just how I feel at this moment. It's everything that's happened to me for the last 53 years. And it's all the DNA in me. And all the DNA in me has been the result of evolution over thousands of years and how those people have been treated. And then what those people said to me as I was being raised, it's all these things that make up my attitude. So a lot of the times how we react in a situation is very little controlled by us in that situation. It's everything leading up to it. It's everything leading up to it. That's going to give us a better explanation. Why did you do that? A lot of times we don't know. It's just who we are. It's just who we are. So the attitude is specifically relevant to our behavior and our actions. Attitude towards exercise will determine whether you do it. If I were to ask you right now, do you exercise? Some of you guys would say, yes, I do. Why? Because my attitude is it's stupid. What are you going to pick something up, put it right back where you got it from? Here we go. There's a little weight down here below. It's got a little weight. All right, let me pick this guy up. So if I'm going to work out, I'm going to pump this iron. I'm going to pump some weight. Go, yeah, get that up there. Yeah. Get that up there and then put it down. That's right back where it started. That's where it was before, right under my desk. What did I accomplish? So my arm's a little sore now. What did I accomplish? So my attitude towards exercise is whatever. And I go, let me go ahead. I'll put on a little bit of extra weight. Put on some extra weight. Put on some poundage. That way, if the bus hits me, maybe I'll bounce off of it. I'm not going to die. So if that's my attitude, why not? But if your attitude about exercise is it's good for me, it makes me feel better, it makes me feel more excited about my life, it relieves my stress and all, you're more likely to do it. So again, our attitude about something, which is not how I feel today. It's everything that I am and everything that created me and everything that's led up to today is much more likely to impact that exercise than anything else. And a lot of times we contradict ourselves. You say you love someone, then you call them, gosh, she's such a whatever. I hate her. I love her. You say it at the same time. You call your girlfriend an idiot. She's such an idiot. She's dating you. What does that say about you? That she chose you. When you got a doctor who smokes, here's what you should do for your health. You're smoking. So if my attitude about smoking is bad, that's what it's going to be. My attitude about vaccines are bad. And that's what it's going to be. And it's a really sort of contradicting thing. A lot of people who don't want to get vaccinated right now are people who supported President Trump, who was responsible for Operation Warp Speed, which allowed us to get this vaccination, who, by the way, also got a vaccination. But they don't want to do it because now they think the government is forcing because he's not in charge of the government anymore. So there's a little bit of a contradiction there. And by the way, the people who are getting vaccinated with a vaccine from a president that most of them didn't like and don't want to give him credit for. So there's a lot of contradiction that happens. Our attitude and what information we decide to take in and not take in is there. So again, a lot of times we're keenly aware of our own attitude. When someone else has my attitude, they are an open-minded person. They are a thinker. They are wide. They're enlightened. And when someone else doesn't have the same attitude as me, that's because they're stupid. They're deaf. We draw conclusions about that. We are conscious of our belief and we are true to ourselves. And if you are not true to me, dismiss it. You are part of the them. You are us or you are them. If you are part of the them, that's who you are. Part of the yes, well, I can explain a lot of reasons why you're, certain things, whatever. All right. Now, how do we persuade others to my attitude? Well, there's a couple of ways we do it. One way is called the foot in the door. The foot in the door is for people who have first agreed to a small request, then comply for a larger request, to get people to start small and build up. It's building credit. If you go to the bank right now because you saw a car for $50,000 that you wanted to buy as a 16-year-old walking into the bank, they're not going to let you borrow money. You don't have any credit. As a matter of fact, if I walked up to you and I said, could I borrow a nickel? Most of you would agree to let me borrow a nickel. And then the next day I go, hey, here's that nickel. Thanks for letting me borrow it. And a few days later, I go, could I borrow a quarter? Of course, you'll let me borrow a quarter. And the next day I pay you back the quarter. And a few days later, I go, can I borrow $1? And you go, sure, borrow $1. And I give you back the $1. As a matter of fact, I give you back $2 because I'm thanking you for taking the time to loan me that other money. Then if suddenly 3 weeks later, we're at a McDonald's and I say, hey, man, I forgot my wallet. Hey, can I borrow $5? You're going to let me borrow $5. Why? Because I paid you back the nickel. I paid you back the quarter. I paid you back the $1. I also gave you interest. I've built credit. This is why online scammers will do this as well. They ask for a little money at first, especially these phishing, catfish sort of relationships. They get in, gain your trust, build a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Desegregation during civil rights. Dr. King did not come and say, let's make everything equal right now today. We can't wait any longer. He goes, let's start with the buses. But we start with the buses. You see, not so bad. Let's do the lunch counters now. See, let's do the movie theaters. Let's do housing. Let's work our way up. Because he also knew the demand for everything now, when you didn't have equal opportunity to education and whatnot, you can make the opera house desegregated, but if no one could afford or had the culture to go to the opera house, what good does that do you? What good does that do you? Okay. Chinese prison camps during the Korean War, where these soldiers, that were American soldiers and also spoke Chinese. They were asked early on, they go, hey, listen, we don't speak English. Chinese soldiers would say this to them. We don't speak English. Could you take attendance for us to make sure everybody's here? Yeah, fine. I'll take attendance for you. Oh, that's great. Hey, could you make sure these guys get out to the exercise room? Because we want to make sure that they get the exercise. Okay, fine. Hey, could you guys make sure these guys get to the cafeteria and tell them what to do? Because we only speak Chinese. You speak Chinese and English. So could you tell them to get to the cafeteria? Yeah. Hey, could you also teach these guys Chinese so that maybe we can talk to them? And when you teach them, could you use this little red book by Mao Zedong? It's pretty awesome. Got some great stories. And you take step by step by step by step. Moral actions strengthen moral convictions, just as amoral actions strengthen amoral attitudes. And you build and you build and you build and you build. That is the foot in the door. The door in the face is the opposite. The door in the face is where you ask for something so huge that you negotiate back. Let's say your curfew is 11 p.m. and you want to stay out until midnight. So you ask your parents, Mom, Dad, can I stay out until 7 in the morning? No, you can't stay out until 7 in the morning. There's crazy people out there at 7 in the morning. Of course you can't stay out till 7 in the morning. No. Well, can I just stay out an extra hour then until midnight? Yeah, okay, fine. That's reasonable. And that's all you wanted anyways. So you asked for way too much. Can I borrow $100? No, about $5. Yeah, okay. It seems more reasonable. Walk up to a girl. Hey, you want to marry me and have my kids? No. How about coffee? Okay, that seems reasonable. Seems a little reasonable. Although we're probably kind of turned off by the whole married kids thing, a little aggressive, but those are effective. Both the door in the face and the foot in the door are very, very, very effective techniques in doing that. Trying to persuade someone to your point of view, because we have certain roles, and the role is a set of expectation about a social position that defines how those in positions ought to behave. When you get married, you pretend, when you first get a boyfriend or girlfriend, you first start dating in junior high school. You don't know what you're doing. You just say, well, I'm the boyfriend. I should do this. Or I'm the other boyfriend, or I'm the girlfriend, or I'm the whatever. And this is how I should do it because this is what I've seen on TV. And then only later on do you sort of realize what you're supposed to be. The traditional roles of the husband, the traditional roles of the wife, which my wife and I don't do. She takes care of the bills. She makes more money than I do. She makes more plans than I do. a little bit more forceful in her opinion than I am. I'm a little bit more easygoing, laid back, thinking of the family and the kids a little bit more first than personally what I want. I do more of the grocery shopping. I do more of the cleaning of the house. I do more of the, I do all the laundry. She's terrible at it. She doesn't know how the dishwasher starts. I do it, so you find the roles that are comfortable for you. But early on, you don't know. If you ever had a friend that you work with and they suddenly became a shift leader or a manager, they start acting a bit like a jerk because they're like, well, I'm a boss, so I got to act like a boss, and these are the roles that we do because it's our attitude of what that role is supposed to be. But then what we discover is that absolute power can basically, ruin us absolutely. Zimbardo did this experiment back in 1972 at Stanford University, where he took a bunch of male volunteers and randomly assigned them to be guards or prisoners in this little dormitory that they took over during the summer on Stanford's campus. Used real cops in the arrest to give them a sense of reality. So these people, and by the way, he randomly assigned these people, just you're a guard, you're a guard, you're a prisoner, you're a prisoner, you're a guard, you're a guard, you're a prisoner, you're a prisoner. Okay. But the guards were instructed to maintain order, foot in the door, just maintain order. They were given glasses during this time as well to avoid eye contact. And also the sense of authority. They were given glasses, they were given a billy club. And so their job was to keep authority. Now, since I am the guard, I need to act like the tough guard. Now, the prisoners were like, well, I'm the prisoner, so I'm going to start to be a little bit of a goof off, whatever, and I'm not really going to listen. And for the first couple of days, it was kind of a little bit of, whatever, this is silly. But after a while, the guards started to get a little bit upset because the prisoners weren't listening. So they started to dehumanize them. They started to separate them from the other prisoners. They started to put them in isolation confinement. They started to only refer to the prisoners by their number, not who they were, sort of dehumanizing them. And prisoners were showing signs of extreme stress and depression. And when they asked to get out, Zimbardo wouldn't listen to them and wouldn't take their pleas. So they thought, what the hell, did I sign up for a cult? What am I doing in here? And they sort of lost their sense of identity and who they were. And they were showing extreme signs of stress and early signs of depression. And this experiment, by the way, had to end in 6 days. And the reason it had to end in 6 days, even though it was supposed to last 2 weeks, is that the guards were just getting a little bit too full of themselves. And the guards, by the way, were upset that it ended so early. Why? What are we doing that's wrong? There were no lasting results, but this does change the ethical standards of experience, that if I want out of an experiment, I should be allowed out of an experiment. Zimbardo argued that good apples would be infected if they were put in a barrel of bad apples, that if there's enough bad actors in your way, it's going to be that. And there were enough bad people who were guards that rubbed off on these other guards, that these guards weren't going to stand up. Again, we go back to George Floyd, and you take the guy, forget his name off the top of my head, that was on the neck of George Floyd. There were 3 other cops there. 2 of them were trainees. 1 of them had just a few years experience. None of them stood up to that guy who had his knee on the back of George Floyd, because they're like, well, it's not that they were the bad guys, although some would argue that they should have done something, but this guy's in charge. He must know. He's got experience. He's the one training us. He must be okay. Absolute power, if not checked, can corrupt absolutely, which is why we have checks and balances in government. The executive, the judicial, the legislative branch, none is more powerful than the other, because you don't want a dictator in this country, and when we're given this role of authority, it changes the way that we act. There's a really interesting study called the Cookie Monster study, where they took a group of 3 people and they're asked to complete a very simple task. One person is randomly selected the leader. Okay, you're the leader of the 3 people. Let's do the little task. The leader really didn't have to do that much, but once the task is completed, they were given 4 cookies as a reward. 3 people given 4 cookies. The leader was most likely to not only eat his cookie, but also take the extra cookie, because I'm the leader. So I deserve the extra cookie. And when he ate the cookie, or she ate the cookie, they ate it more aggressively. Mouth open, crumbs everywhere, which is why it's called the Cookie Monster study as well. Also, another study in looking at empathy and power. People were asked, they were primed to remember a time when either they had power over someone else or somebody had power over them. After telling the story, they were asked to draw the letter E on their forehead. Just draw the letter E, capital E, on your forehead. And those who were told to remember someone else having power over them drew it correctly so that someone facing them could read it. Those who remembered a time when they had power drew it in a way where they could see it correctly. This suggested less empathy and you have power. Take a look right here. Let me get out of this real quick. Let me go to this on the sharing screen thing. Let me stop. Here, let me stop the share of my screen. Let's just go to this. What you see right here, notice back here, the title Revenge of the Jedi, Star Wars. You can all read these appropriately. If I put up this little calendar right here, Cypress Fairbanks 2021, you can read this. Most times when you're FaceTiming with someone, you can't necessarily see the world the way it really is, because most people FaceTiming will actually do it in a way that impacts how they see it. For example, if we take the video here, the video settings, this is how most people look at it. So let's go to mirror my video. Boom. This would be me if I was mirroring it. So I could go right hand up here, left hand over here. That's mirroring my video right there. Okay, I've now mirrored my video. So when we come over here, now this looks different because my hair is now parted on the other side. But when I look in the mirror, this is what I see. When I put up this hand goes up. When I put up that hand goes up. And that's why the wording is backwards. And that's why a lot of times when we look at pictures of ourselves, we don't like the way that we look in the picture because we're used to seeing our own reflection. And a lot of people who take selfies, whatever, put this in a mirrored way, and they sort of like look the opposite. Let's get away from this. The reason I don't do this, the reason that I do the Zoom like this is because I'm trying to see it from your perspective, not necessarily from my perspective. And it seems a little weird and it takes some getting used to as well. So let's get away from that. All right, let's go back to sharing the screen. All right, so anyways, same thing with the people on the E's. All right, that if you were someone, and again, I try to take that into consideration in everything I do. I'm trying to look at it from your perspective. You know, I try to look at it as, okay, let me tell stories that would be relatable to teenagers, which is sometimes hard to do. All right, but that's what you're trying to do. Now, cognitive dissonance theory, this becomes very interesting because a lot of times the way we think and the way we act don't necessarily match up correctly, okay? We act to reduce the discomfort we feel when two of our thoughts are inconsistent. For example, I know I should recycle because the planet is warming and everything else, but boy, to separate those plastics and put the cardboard, and I'll put the Amazon boxes in the recycling, that's real easy. But you know, everything else and separating and whatnot, it's just too hard. I'm just one person, whatever. And we make those excuses. We make those excuses. The person who's vaping, you know, oh, it's okay, vaping's not as bad as smoking. It's so bad. You know, or the person who smokes cigarettes, well, it's just one cigarette, or, you know, or drinks. Well, I only drink when I smoke. You know, well, you know, I'm addicted to the cigarettes. You know, we rationalize all these reasons we do these bad things. You know, you should donate blood. We all know we should donate blood. Of course you should donate blood, but I really don't like needles and everybody else is donating blood. So it's okay that I don't. Because again, a lot of times our thoughts and our beliefs don't necessarily clash. It's okay, everybody else. If everybody else wears a mask, it's okay if I don't, because if everybody else gets vaccinated, it's all right that I don't get vaccinated because that should in fact protect me. So I don't have to take the risk of what may or may not be a good vaccination and all those things. We know what we're doing. We may be uncomfortable with doing it, but we rationalize why we do this. And we change our beliefs to relieve the tension of the action we're taking. When you do a bad thing, you could think maybe I'm a jerk, but that would harm your own self-perception. So instead of going, well, maybe I was a jerk and I did that. Well, it was a bad day. I had a bad day. I didn't eat. I didn't have breakfast that morning. That's why I acted that particular way. And this becomes our own personal fundamental attribution error, where we misjudge ourselves in a way that's comfortable for us. And again, to get into some controversy here, QAnon followers had to come to terms with Biden being sworn in as president in January of 2021, because everything that they had followed up till that time said that this was never going to happen. So to accept him as president would mean to admit that everything that I'd followed with QAnon was wrong. So I got to find further evidence. No, there's going to be a new day in August when he will become whatever. So because if I don't stick with these beliefs, then I've got to admit that everything that I followed with QAnon was wrong. And I don't want to do that. And again, at the same way of that, you've got people who say defund the police. It is the police that are leading me down the road of badness. So only when we defund the police can my life be any better. And you believe that to be true. But then what about the people that during these protests were looting? Well, that's okay that they were doing the looting. You know, looting is wrong, but that's okay because they felt wrong and it was their way to strike back on society. Well, how is this any different than this? How is this action against society, this breaking and entry, how is that any different from this breaking and entry? But people who believe that this is okay will believe that this is wrong. And people who believe that this is okay will believe that this is wrong. People who believe that this is okay to break into the White House, or not the White House, I'm sorry, break into the Capitol. Most of these people are also people that are at these back the blue, back the police, support the police, unless you're stopping me from getting into the Capitol building. These people defund the police unless they're breaking into your store. Where are the police at? So again, a lot of times our thoughts become very, very inconsistent with one another. You know, we think a certain way, we believe a certain way when it's convenient for our narrative. But this allows us to have some very illogical thinking. It's a very illogical rationalization. Again, I'll support the vaccine. I hate President Trump, but I'll support the vaccine because the vaccine is science. But President Trump put together the policy to get the science going. But on the other side of the equation, I will not take the vaccine because President Trump says not to take it, but he took the vaccine and his science got. So again, there's just inconsistency on both sides about this, which from a psychological perspective is fascinating to watch, fascinating to say. There's no better time in your life than to take psychology than right now. Okay, so again, more stuff there on cognitive dissonance. Again, the nurse who's smoking, or the nurse or doctor who won't get vaccinated. You know, but your health, it doesn't make sense. It really, the rationale on both sides, on all sides, when you go extreme, to go extreme in your thinking means to shut off opposite beliefs. Answer somewhere in the middle. I would think that it's somewhere in the middle but we like to conform. Adjusting one's behavior, thinking or coincide with the group standard. We like to be an us. We like to be part of a group. Behavior is contagious. You know, if I sat here and I just went, excuse me, you're a little bit more tired. You're a little bit more tired. When other people laugh, we laugh. Anytime you walked up to a group and they're all laughing, you're like, what's so funny? You don't even know. Walk to your next class. And when you're walking to your next class, look up at the ceiling. Just you and your friends, just look up at the ceiling. You're walking to your next class. I notice how many people also look up at the ceiling. We want to belong to a group. We want to belong. We want to have that thing of others because it makes us feel more comfortable. We just like that. We're happier around happy people. We're more sad around sad people. So again, if it means I've got to believe this, whatever sort of conspiracy or narrative or whatnot, and I want my neighbors to like me. I want this. I want to be part of that us group. We do it. We do it. And aggressive acts of others towards us makes us conform to more aggressive actions in response. It's okay. We rationalize this. So again, the question becomes, do acts influence one another, or conditions just merely the same? And this is what's called the chameleon effect. We mirror neural behavior that influences a person to act in a way that they're observing. Studies show that if you're talking to someone and someone just starts doing this, you're more likely to rub your face. That when someone else starts to talk faster, you will in turn talk faster. It's the reason why when I'm asked to talk to new teachers and they ask, what's the number one piece of advice you would give a teacher? And I'd say, be in a good mood. Show up to class, be in a good mood, be excited about your class. Because if I show up in a good mood and I'm excited, I'm more likely to be excited. Folks, if I've been doing these videos, and we're on video, whatever, I don't know, we're in the 60s now, that you've been watching. If I came on to this video, I go, okay, this is the chameleon effect, mirror neural behavior that influences a person. There's a chart over there. It's no big deal, whatever. If that was my attitude in doing this, how hard would this class be for you to take? You know, when we see we're happier around happy people, but we're also more irritated around irritable people. And this is why sometimes in your life you have to take inventory of who your friends are and who's around you. And sometimes we need to start cutting some people out. Misery loves company as long as that company is miserable. A great thing that shows us, and there's videos that go with this, last thing on this particular lecture, the ASH study. Participants were shown a card with 3 lines on it, and they were asked to pick the one that is the same length. Here's a standard line, here are the comparison lines. Which line is the most like this? You look at this and you go, it's obviously 3, right? Of course not. It's 2. For a second there, oh, he's a teacher, he says 3. Okay. And for the first few trials, the Confederate picked the correct answer, so the subject felt part of the group and everyone's picking the right thing. Then what happened was they had all the other group members give the incorrect answer, and the participant conformed at least half the time. Those that did not conform showed more activity in their amygdala, showing an increased anxiety to the nonconformity, because conformity is a standard thinking thing. I want to be like everybody else. If everybody else is wrong, I'm wrong. Well, I don't want to be the only one who's wrong. You know, it's people who cheat on a test. You know, if you didn't study for, if you're cheating on a test and you're like, okay, the answer is B, you look around, A, you got A, you got A, you got, oh, fine, I'm going to change it to A. Because if I get it wrong, we all got it wrong. And you feel better. You know, if you get it back a test and you got like a 55 on the test, you look at your friend and go, what'd you get? I got 60. What'd you get? I got 48. What'd you get? I got 32. What'd you get? 59. Oh, suddenly your 55 feels pretty good. Hey, we're all idiots. You know, you feel pretty good about that. But if you got a 95 on the test and you ask your friends, what'd you get? 65. What'd you get? 72. What'd you get? 43. You show, I got a 95. You don't. You don't do that unless you're a jerk and you don't want friends. You don't do that. You put that away. Yeah, that test sucked. Because I'd rather be wrong with the group than be the only one who's right. Because I could also take being the only one who's wrong. You know, if everybody else picks that and I go, no, I'm going to go with my own answer, and then you go with that, I'm the only one who's wrong. Now I look like an idiot. Why didn't I just go along with everybody? And the ASH study shows this again and again and again. 37% of the time, people will always conform. 75% of people will conform at least once. Conformity is more likely to happen when I feel incompetent or insecure. When the group's at least 3 people, when the group is a group I want to be a part of, if I admire the group, the group's unanimous. If I hadn't made any prior commitments, if others in the group are watching me at that time, if I'm part of a conformity culture, if I'm part of a collectivist culture, an Eastern culture, I'm more likely to conform. Now, again, it's not happening all the time, 37%. But it's going to something that they know is wrong. That they know is wrong. And a great example of this is the Supreme Court of the United States from 53 to 2001, during the Civil Rights era. The most common voting was 9-0, where you took conservative and liberal justices all came together 9-0. It's the most common decision made in the Supreme Court. Second most common is 5-4. Liberals get with liberals, conservatives get with conservatives, moderates fall on either side. The least common one is 8-1, where one person goes, no, 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 no. I am going to stand different. Now, again, that person can be completely wrong. And it's just much easier. Let's just go with the 9-0. That way I don't have to write a dissenting opinion or anything else, but it is the least common one. For that one person to stand up to everyone else is the least common response. It's the least common. I think I need to update that picture. All right. That wraps up this section. I just have to correct that picture. All right. That should wrap up, what is this, vocabulary. This is, I guess we're on vocabulary 10 right now. So that would have been lecture 6, unit 5, lecture 6. We're going to wrap up right there. All right.